Hello, hello.
Hi, my friend. You guys, my lovely audience, you guys are in for such a special treat today.
It is a special treat today.
Guess what? Guess why?
Why?
Because it's just us. Woo! I love having our guests on, and I get so much out of it. But honestly, sometimes I just want to chat with you a little bit.
Right? And I laugh because we chat a lot and I don't know if we could ever be done chatting.
I mean, aside from, well, you're definitely a better listener and I'm a better talker. Like, not, I shouldn't say better. You're more of a listener. I'm more of a talker. We're working on balancing those things. But I was laughing over the last couple episodes that we recorded because I can't help but look at ourselves on the screen. So like I'm watching you and your face and I'm watching me and my face, and I'm like, am I making the right face? Like, is my listening face friendly enough? Like, all of this is what goes on in my head. So I realize that I have a pleasant listening face, and I find that I actually do this at conferences too. Like, I feel like I somehow have to secretly like encourage the speaker that I'm so happy to hear their message. So I find that when I listen with like a little smile, or like if it's serious, I might like furrow my brow a little bit. Like it's totally genuine. It's not bullshit. But I find that like I'm very aware of my face.
I can totally cuz I see you and I see you always have this pleasant smile on, just looking so supportive and nurturing and um so I have noticed that. And then there's me.
Well, I'm not going to tell our audience to jump on YouTube, but sometimes when you listen intently, your face is very intense, very intense.
I think part of it is, I will say, um I really have to work to hear the words coming out of people's mouths, because my HSP, my highly sensitive person being here, is I'm being bombarded with your energy.
Mm.
And then there's this spiritual download, this noise that's inside my head 24/7 that I have to um
Like filter.
yes, because it doesn't go away. It's always there. Like I laugh. Sometimes I'm in a really loud environment and I'll stop and I'll check and I'll be like, is that noise still inside my head? And it's like I'm blowing dry my hair. Yep, it's still inside my head. I'm at a concert. Yep, it's still there. So it's always there. And I have to work to hear the sounds that are coming into my ears so that I can process them. Um, and I wish it didn't express so much in my face that I'm like intently listening. And I've also been told I do not have a poker face, whatever. Like it always shows up on my face. So there you have it.
Well, I will clarify, it is not a bad thing at all. And honestly, most of the time I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the guest, right? Which is
Yes,
probably
me
like,
too.
I also have this whole internal dialogue about where my eyes should be on the screen, but that's a story for another day. But no, your intensity is a friendly intensity. It's not scary. So it's all good. Don't overthink life the way I overthink it. Do as I say, not as I do. You're fine. But no, that makes total sense, and I can appreciate that, and I can only imagine what that must feel like to have so much input coming at you at all times. So uh,
I
you
can't
are.
really tell you how it feels otherwise, because it's
Right.
always been this way as long as I remember. So
Well, also, and we've talked about this before, like culturally, you are come from a listening lineage, I come from a talking lineage, right? Like in my culture, as you are finishing up your sentence, we are ramping up our sentence. Like I don't know. I think it's because there's so many of us in the same room at the same time that if you don't jump in, you don't get a turn, right? That's kind of how I grew up, especially with so many cousins and siblings and friends and family. Like, was always loud. It was, I used to watch all these TV shows where like all the American people had these like sweet little dinner parties where they had like jazz music in the background and you could hear the clinking of the glasses. I've never in my life been to a Spanish people party where you could hear clinking of glasses. Like, the music was at a 10, the voices were at a 10, the talking was at a 10, So I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're probably the best listener in my life right now.
Always happy to listen. And I think I learned a lot of that too from my mom and my grandma. And because they did a lot of listening. Because people need to be heard and need, yeah, they need someone to listen, and why not be that person?
That's perfect for you. I love it. I'm trying. I'm coming. I'm catching up. That's not true, but I do enjoy it. Anyway, speaking of listening, let's take a quick break. Let's listen to this snazzy dazzy commercial we got coming up, and then we'll come back and carry on.
So how about that?
I am so excited.
I can't even begin to tell you like how excited I am about this. So we've been planning this retreat for a while. I've been wanting to do retreats for years and years, and I'm so excited to finally have this opportunity. And it feels just so good to be able to support other women on their journeys to getting real and creating the space of authenticity and self-love and compassion, and being able to do this in community. Women supporting women. How much historically have women been stepping on each other and pushing each other down? And it goes back to that conversation. How do you make a change? You start with yourself, and so we change ourselves, and then we support others in changing themselves too.
Yeah, and this is truly like, this is the birth of our retreat baby. It really is a creation that comes from just years and years of being in community, of supporting each other. I always say I think a lot of our problems come from being isolated. And even if you're very busy, because that really, and I know I'm talking to you from personal experience, right? Like, even if you're very busy, it doesn't mean you're not isolated. There's a lot of time for work and networking and events and all of these things. And I love all of those things. But I think if you're not doing those things mindfully and genuinely and from a place of authenticity, then I don't know about you, but like for me, it drags me down. We've developed a lot since I started doing the podcast with you, and developing this retreat is just such a natural progression for us. Like, I'm so excited because I feel like it's something, like, energetically, I feel like it's something we've done a million times. And, I don't know, across all times and across all dimensions. And I'm excited to kind of get back to it. Does that make sense? Even though we've never done it before?
Well, and I think we already do a lot of this work in different ways with the clients that we have on an individual basis. And I'm super excited to be able to do this in a group format. And I'm super excited to do it with you.
Likewise. Oh my gosh. I hope we don't spend the next 40 minutes gushing all over each other.
Well, we could, but I think, we want to talk, the theme of the podcast and the theme of the retreat is all about, stepping into your authentic self and finding that magic within, and falling in love with yourself. Because, I always say, like, all of the problems that exist out there in the world, would completely disappear if everybody could fully love themselves.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And so it's time to do even more to support people on that path. And I think about my own life and how much time I spent being who I thought others wanted me to be. I laugh because, you know, I love my parents to death. I have the most wonderful parents, and they always told me I was perfect, which meant I had to be the perfect child. And, some of those crazy things that kids do that maybe they weren't supposed to do, but it's all about discovery and finding. Like, I didn't do a lot of those things because perfect girls don't do things that get themselves into trouble. I was always the perfect kid, and I think about how many things that I never explored because I knew I couldn't do it perfectly. And and then I got married way too young, and I looked at my parents and my grandparents, all who had what appeared on the outside to be perfect marriages. Um, my my one set of grandparents and my parents, I know their marriages weren't perfect, but I also see the the love that they had, and um, had beautiful relationships. So when I got married, like, I have to have a marriage that works, and stayed in a marriage for way too long because I wasn't I wasn't willing to step out and do the wrong thing, because I'm perfect, and then I get into this career of physical therapy that's very structured and Western, and spent a lot of time in my career trying to fit in, and hiding my true nature um, of what my passion about helping people heal is, hiding that quote unquote woo woo, magical, mystical side of me. And, so all of these things um, took some work, took some bravery to be able to step out, and finally go, like, this marriage is not working for me. This is not the kind of marriage I want to have, not the relationship that I want to have. And it's okay for me to step out and let it go. And in my career too, like, I've been quiet for long enough about my beliefs about healing and what healing looks like to me, and how I want to support people in their healing journey. And being brave enough to just, I laughed, like, once I started, like, speaking my truth about therapy, like those PT therapy groups on Facebook, I'd get kicked out of that. Like, you don't belong. And I
Oh,
was like, old Julietta would have been like, oh my God, they kicked me out. And, like, new Julietta's like, amen. Like, I don't want to be a part of you guys anyway, because you're not my tribe. You're not my community. And I will say this, like, stepping into your authentic self, like, it happens in bits and pieces, you know, different areas you learn to step out and embrace your authentic self. And sometimes along the way, it was like, I thought I was being my authentic self, and then I learned something new about myself, and then you get to step into a new level of authenticity.
it's so great because everything that you're saying, I can identify with so much. Being my authentic self has been like the ocean. It's an ebb and flow, and just when I think that I'm at the peak of being my authentic self, I kind of look around and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, what was I doing again? I'm not being my authentic self. What happened? And ironically, I also have this perfectionism thing, but mine comes from the opposite type of upbringing. My parents were far from being perfect or even making me think that I was perfect. I will say the biggest gift that my mother ever gave me was believing that I could do anything. And so that is something that I have and that I don't think could even be beaten out of me. I have this ridiculous sense that I can do anything. And, I told you, our immigration story is a big part of my life. And so I very much believe in the American dream, like I really do think that you can make as much of life as you possibly can, So, um, but, and I guess, all of that also leads to I have so much opportunity and I need to feel so lucky that I have this life that everything I do has to be perfect. And so, same as you, I checked off all the boxes. I, had the boyfriend, got the degree, had the perfect job and the perfect life and the perfect house and all of that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden I looked around and I'm like, wait a minute, like, I'm not happy. What is this? And I found like my big epiphany at 29, I guess it was that I hadn't grown, I hadn't changed, I hadn't evolved since I was 15. Like at 15, I felt like I started a relationship and it was quote unquote the perfect relationship. And it kind of just stayed exactly the same for 15 years, And then suddenly it's almost like coming up for air after being underwater so long. I'm looking around going, wait a minute, what was I doing again? Right. I mean, even my career, right? Like I just, when I was 15, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to go to Ethiopia and take pictures of, you know, different communities and people's faces. And anyway, everything that I was passionate about. I will even tell you, and I don't know if I've ever said this, but like, since I was 15, I saw myself as an old lady. Like, I know what I'm going to look like when I'm super old. I'm already getting there a little bit with the gray. But it's like I've always known my path. And then for some reason, I would just kind of fall off track, So at 29, I got divorced. And as quote unquote sad as it felt to have a quote unquote failure, it was actually the biggest gift in the world. It was the biggest gift I ever could have asked for because it freed me to remember myself, And I'm not advising anyone to run out and get divorced. I'm just saying, like, it took something that big for me to realize, wait a minute, what was I doing? Right. And so then fast forward, I've now been in a different relationship for the last 18 years, which is a world of difference. Like, I love, love, love my life. I love my partner. I've never been more supported. I could not ask for better children and stepchildren and just extended family and everything. And even still, with everything being so perfect, I find myself slipping and going, wait a minute, how did I get here? Like I keep so now I'm yet again going through that, like, I don't know, re-authentication process, for lack of a better term, right? Because when I started letting go of self-imposed, because they were all self-imposed obligations, man, my life freed up. And that's today, right? Like that's, I 5 years ago, I felt like everything was perfect, but then I wasn't sleeping. I was overwhelmed. I had said yes to too much. I wanted to help everybody and everything and every nonprofit and every business and every human being ever. And I had said yes to too much. And I just needed to take a step back. And in taking that step back, and a whole bunch of other, teachings and exercises and processes and things, I realized I did it again. I went too far, So for me, like, rediscovering yourself is cyclical. I don't know if you feel that way, but like I feel like I'm constantly rediscovering myself.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. One thing I was thinking of when you were talking about saying yes to too many things, I'm like, we all need to, when we're saying yes, ask ourselves, am I saying yes to me? Because oftentimes we're saying yes to everybody else, but am I saying yes to me? And sometimes to say yes to me, I have to say no to other people. And that doesn't mean I don't love them and I don't care about them. It just means, we talk about this all the time, like filling our cup. And if we're constantly emptying it for other people, it gets overwhelming, and then you burn out. So
I'll tell you where it's really hard as a mom is that you feel like you have to empty your cup into your children, which is for me so toxic, um, because people tell you put your own on mask first and then your children, but that's like the hardest thing in the world to do, right? Like I would rather have my children be have what they want or be perfect or be happy or whatever the my current thinking is, and then put myself last because it's just the nature of the beast, but I realize that never serves me. It never does. I'll be too tired. I'll be miserable. Then I'll be the mean mommy, and so it takes an absolute conscious effort to realize that putting myself, sometimes, not every day, but sometimes I get to be first. Sometimes it's my turn. And so how that shows up for me in my life is like, okay, I know you guys want to go to the skating rink today, but today mommy has to go do chakra balancing class at the studio with Julietta. Right? Like I have to do that for me. And I promise you, like my kids don't care. They're like, okay, we'll go skating another day. Like you think it's such a big deal, right? Like I think, oh my gosh, I'm ruining my child's life if I'm not here for their particular thing, or if I don't go to their whatever. And the truth is, as long as I have other quality time with them, I'm teaching them flexibility. I'm sorry. And I'm teaching them who I want them to be in the future, because I don't want my kids to grow up and feel like they don't have time for themselves. I want them to say, no, my mom taught me to make time for myself.
exactly. I mean, yes, it's difficult for me to speak to having children because I don't have children. Uh, but obviously, lots of my friends have children. And the thing that really stands out to me now versus when I was a kid growing up, uh, everybody's doing way too much. Like, they got this and then they got that. And then, it's like, it's not even like there's just one practice a night. They got to go to this practice and then they got to go to that lesson and then they got to go, stop. And I don't think it's good that we're teaching our kids, because we've talked about this before. Like, doing more is not better. More is not better. Like, and that's what we're teaching our kids, is that they just got to keep going and going and going and going. We're teaching them to do that. And let's slow down, people.
Yeah. It's funny because I think for me anyway, it comes from the idea that like you want to expose them to as much as possible so that then they can create whatever life they want. But I think I forget that at some point at 18 or 20 or whatever, they're going to leave and they're going to blow the doors off the place, right? Like they're going to go explore all the things they want to explore. I mean, that's what I did, right? My mom could only show me so much of the world. And then after that, it was up to me. So really, the real lesson is to teach curiosity, is to teach the ability to be flexible, is to teach, how to investigate things and how to look for things, not actually exposing them to everything because you physically can't. And at the end of the day, what is it that you want them to take with them? It's flexibility, it's confidence, it's endurance, right? It's all of those things. So I say that to say that sometimes, like with this retreat, right? Like I think about, okay, our retreat is a week. It is in Mexico. And yeah, that's going to take a bit of quote unquote sacrifice. But you know what? It is such a gift that I'm giving my kids. I'm giving them independence. I'm giving them, time away from me. Like I know they love me, but I bet they could use a week off. Right? Like they're going to be the better for it. And I know I'll be the better for it. I will tell everybody that this retreat is just as much for us as it is for our people. We've curated it with all the things that are going to feel good for everybody, and anyway, I'm super excited. There's so many like juicy parts of this retreat that I can't wait to share.
I know. If I wasn't the co-facilitator of this retreat, I would want to be going on this retreat. yeah, um, it's adventure. Talk about exposure to new things, um, but so much nurturing on this trip, and um, just really looking forward to creating this community of women that we're going to go on this journey together and create moments that we'll never forget, and moments that will change our lives.
I was just going to say, and the stuff that you get to bring back with you, right? Like bringing back a real hard plan for how to find time for yourself every day, how to find the joy in every day, even when the shitstorm is all around you and falling apart. Find those pockets, right? How to do that, because you get so overwhelmed. It's like, I just need, I have one mentor that told me, she goes, I know what you want. You just want me to tell you what to do. Like, and I'm like, yeah, just tell me what to do. Just tell me. So like, honestly, there's bits of that in here. Like, you want to know what to do? Yeah, I'm just going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm going to tell you how to carve the time out for yourself. That's what I'm going to tell you. And it starts with this, right? With carving the time out for the retreat itself. So I'm super excited. I think I might be even more excited for the month after the retreat, when we get to see like all the major changes folks have made in their lives, right? Because
Yeah,
once you have that level of awareness, like nobody can take that away from you. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Because yes, the retreat is just the start of the shift, and then you get to watch it play out for
I'm
sure.
so excited. I'm like sitting up higher in my chair. Oh my goodness. Well,
Um,
it is it's time, you know. It's time, and I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there feeling like, you know what, it's my turn. I deserve this. And if there's anything you deserve, is to give yourself that time to grow.
I think that is one of the biggest lessons that all women need to learn, is that it's your time now, and you deserve this. You're worthy of this, and it's okay to put yourself first.
It's actually a necessity because, like I said, kids will never do what you tell them. They will only do what they see, what you show them. So, any any objections that come into my mind about doing things for myself, the first thing I remind myself is, what would I want my daughter to do? What would I want my son to do? Would I want them to take advantage of something once in a lifetime amazing and, do something to move their lives forwards? Hell yes. Hell yes. And I can't teach that to them. I can't tell it to them if I'm not doing it myself. So
Exactly.
honestly, I feel like it's my responsibility to do stuff like this. It really is. How else am I going to teach them?
That's a beautiful perspective. Beautiful. Absolutely. All right. Do you have anything more to share?
No, I feel like this is perfect. I
It
appreciate
is.
you. I appreciate our audience. I'm so excited to see all the places we're going to go and grow.
Yes. That's it. It's always a journey of growth, and if you're done growing, like, you might as well just check out, because there's always more to learn. There's always something next, and super excited to see it.
Absolutely. Listeners, we love you. We will see you on the next episode. Please come hang out with us in our Circle of the Goddess Facebook group. We're going to have some lives in there. We're going to try and interact a little bit more. I know you guys get to see us on YouTube, but we want to see you. So hop on there so we can have this same conversation and just have you guys join us. I'm super excited.
Awesome. All right. Have a magical day.